Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Danny here. Today I'm talking to you about Chainsaw Man. So Chainsaw Man is written and drawn by one Tatsuki Fujimoto. That name should be familiar. He is the same mangaka that did Fire Punch. Really love that series. Back when I talked about it, couldn't get enough of it. And this is being published in Weekly Shonen Jump, and it started at the end of 2018. So the time of this recording, there's currently 85 chapters out. And like a few mangas we've talked about recently, and like with Fire Punch, I couldn't put this down. Right when I picked it up, read the first chapter, I was like, okay, where are we going with this? Let's check it out. Yeah, this is Fujimoto for sure. I've seen some stuff for it, of course. I've seen all the fantastic artwork with Chainsaw Man, his design and all of that, but I didn't know what the premise was or anything. And after going through the first chapter and just seeing how messed up our main character's life is, Denji, you know, he has been working his entire life since a young child to pay off his father's debts by any means necessary. So he sold organs, he sold his eye, he just does anything he can, and that includes being a devil hunter. He uses a little dog that has a chainsaw face called Pochita. So he just goes around every now and then to get rid of the bodies. He gets paid, but then, you know, all the debts that are being accumulated, it's pretty much getting paid nothing. So he's living in a poor rundown shack in the middle of the woods, barely anything to eat. It's a very sad life. He comes to the realization that this might be it. There's no way I'm going to be able to pay off this debt that his father had, which was an absurd amount of money. Realize he's never going to have a normal life. He wants to get a GF, have that comfort in life. And he goes on a mission with these guys. Turns out the Yakuza he's been working for got taken over by a devil, a zombie devil. And the goal for this devil was to kill him because all devils hate these devil hunters. And as he dies, gets chopped up and thrown in a dumpster, I guess, that's in the building. We get a flashback of him with Pochita and says like, hey, if I ever die, you know, take over my body, try to live my life, you know, because I know you want to view this and hopefully you could be happy. Yeah, with Pochita still being alive, he fuses with one Denji here and becomes Chainsaw Man, right? With an awesome helmet, with a chainsaw sticking out and the two chainsaws sticking out of the arm. He just eradicates these zombies, and it's so badass, man. And then right after that, we get a group of devil hunters, one of importance, Makima, and decides to take Denji in for her experimental 4th Division group for the anti-devil squadron that's in Japan, I think specifically Tokyo. And from there, where we meet our other characters that he hangs out with, lives with one Power, who is a devil man. What's a devil man? That's a person taken over by a devil. But, you know, there's the few cases where they have sentience and they're not very harmful towards humans for the most part. And then the other roommate, Aki, who is the normal guy. Going in, it was really refreshing to read this series because with Fujimoto's Fire Punch, you know, that's the basis I had for this series. I wonder if it's going to go this same route. And just seeing how vastly different the writing is was really fantastic. You know, it shows the range that he can have because, you know, a lot of times you'll see mangakas play out the same stories in whatever they write. Nihei, for example, I love his work. But like a Biomega, a Possums, and Blam, from what I've read, they're all the general same genre, same tones, same types of characters. Here, it's way different. You know, sure, it's not an apocalyptic setting like Fire Punch is, but it's like characters feel alive, they're vibrant. So many, some emotions, mainly just being loud and being, in a sense, immature in adolescence, right? Now that Denji has some normalcy in his life, he can actually express what he's always wanted to express. We're getting these fantastic arcs with some of these devils that show up as we get higher into the tiers. And so these designs are so amazing. Like, just to talk about the art, I love the art in Fire Punch, but this takes it up and even more. I kept thinking of raw was the word I was thinking, but it's not as the art is very clean. It's not kind of like Dorohedoro, how like that's kind of rough and sketchy. This, for a lot of moments, it kind of does remind me of Berserk, just the way the designs are and how action scenes are played out. Very stylized. It's really fantastic stuff. Some cool ideas pop up with devil powers in the beginning. And as we go push further into the story, I did have a little bit of a problem to where some arcs were very fast paced, and I didn't know how I felt about that when I was reading it, but I think that's the point, right? Because as we're viewing this series through the eyes of Denji, he's experiencing everything for the first time, so it's almost like a sensory overload, you could say. And so, yeah, things would feel pretty fast for him. There's an arc where he is hanging out a lot with a character named Reese, and I wish we got more of that, or at least, because it just goes straight through of what they're doing up until like the actual plot of that arc. And what I would have liked to seen was the in between, like the days they're not hanging out, and we get to see how he reacts when he's interacting with the other characters that we have. But I think at the end it plays out fine because it's the sensory overload thing. So it's all going through his head so fast, like there's no time to process it. So I think that's what Fujimoto was trying to convey when things just like really pick up the pace. And there's the thing about Fujimoto is his characters are not typical shonen characters, right? They're nothing special, right? Everyone's has a specific goal and a certain charisma to them, right? But with Denji, he's just, a bratty, almost asshole-like personality, and his goals are, things that he's always wanted to do. He's like, man, I want to feel some breasts. I want to get a kiss. I don't care about this revenge plot that, a lot of characters would have. I just have a lower realm of happiness, and if that sucks, well, if I kill you, then you're shittier than me, because that would mean you would be lower than me. He has that kind of mentality, and it's refreshing to see, for sure. And it's also great because with a character like that, when you actually see him grow as a character, it really shows, and there's actual dialogue coming into there. And a lot of it has to do with Makima, who first found him, and she has to give him the advice that, because he just feels lost for a lot of time. And, she's there to kind of put the emotion back into his life, because, it's been so long since he's had something like this. Of course, though, because it's a shonen series, there's something special about him. It had to happen eventually. And when it did happen, I'm like, okay, so this is where we're just going to go. It's not something out of happen chance that this series is called Chainsaw Man. And we start to learn more about that. When we start learning about it, that's when shit really hit the fan. It went by so quick with the setup for, here's the new threats. Here's the threats that Denji's going to have a problem with, because we've been fighting lower level demons, but now we're hitting the big leagues. And that didn't really last that long to where we are now, as we get into even stronger enemies during the middle of a fight. And oh my god, dude, like the thing I kept thinking of when we got to the even higher tier, like the god tier of demons, of devils, I was like, these are just straight up Bloodborne, Dark Souls designs. Straight out like Dorohedoro stuff. I was thinking Berserk for sure. Like that kind of designs for characters in here, I think goes great when you have a character who is just a chainsaw and he has to fight like that. It's really great. Again, the designs and the art is just so amazing. Even the way like some of the chapter covers are when they're colored and stylized, it's so good, man. It's so good. There's a lot of times as well where I thought, is this even allowed in Shonen Jump? Like, man, they're really changing things up over there, aren't they? A chapter after a party that they had at a restaurant, and Denji being Denji, he wants to experience things, and certain stuff was brought up into question. I was like, are we really going to see this? Because it's happened in Fire Punch, and Fire Punch is a product of Shueisha, but it wasn't in weekly Shonen Jump. It was like in a monthly magazine. And I was like, so I know Fujimoto likes to write stuff like that, but are we going to see that here? And sure enough, we don't. And I was like, oh, okay, but this series can definitely like push the boundaries a little bit more than I thought Shonen Jump was comfortable with. So that was also cool too. That's not even just with dialogue, just with some of the fighting too. Like it could get pretty brutal, man. Like the audience is becoming more and more mature or acceptable of, I guess, gory violence. I mean, I guess because they're monsters, it's fine. But I'll just say, man, it's a lot of blood, a lot of inking in these chapters. We're reaching the end of this. I don't see it pushing forward after this. You know, we got big reveals. I'm sure there's going to be a flashback arc coming up that might be a little bit long because there's a lot to explain for both characters of question. I'm looking forward to that a lot. The newest design that showed up is so amazing. I gotta say, I was talking to a friend on our group chat, and he was like, dude, you're pretty ballsy posting this right now. And this was like a few weeks back at the time of this recording, and I didn't know what he was talking about because, you know, I haven't read or seen anything, heard anything. You know, I didn't get spoiled by the series yet. I was thinking like, I was reading and I'm thinking like, okay, I have to get to the part, like what part is he specifically talking about? And then it got to that part. And I was like, no, oh man. When I got to that part, I was like, yeah, this is definitely Fujimoto for sure. You know, because for majority of the time, like I said, I was like, oh, this is really refreshing and great to see him take on a different type of setting and not have anything as heavy as Fire Punch did. But now, when we got to the moment my friend was talking about, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, he knew what he was about. He was just setting it up in a perfect way. It's one of those bittersweet things that happens because it sucks what happens, but it adds onto the story so much, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen once this little arc, or this little dilemma that Denji's going through is over. Once he resolves that, and then we get to see how he feels, that is going to be something. Yeah, can't wait to check out more of this. And I will definitely be back to talk about more once this series is over. I can imagine the end of 2021, I could see it ending. Factor into flashbacks and then the final confrontation with the antagonist. Whoa, one thing I'll add too is the amount of deaths that we see with main characters kind of threw me off guard. I guess because this is a world where demons live and devils, whatever, you know, whatever they want to call them. And to see our characters that are human just die off so easily, it kind of caught me off guard because I was like, oh, I'm too used to seeing our characters that aren't necessarily human take heavy damage, that when something simple happens, it threw me off. Like there was a moment where shit hit the fan with a lot of the divisions for the anti-devil groups. And when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, are these characters really dead? And when I read the next chapter, I was like, man, it doesn't feel right. And then, you know, one character didn't die, but the other ones did. And I was like, damn, that sucks because I really like those characters and I wanted to see a lot more. So that's, you know, good play with Fujimoto, you know, and it's a great contrast too, because it sort of has you more interested in Denji's life, I guess, as a character, because we get our reactions reading it, right? But then you go to Denji and he even questions himself. He's thinking like, wait, how do I really feel about this though? And then that's where we get the answer. That's interesting. And you want to be more engaged because you're like, oh, you want to root for, at the end of the series, for Denji to finally feel what we're feeling, you know, and we were building up towards that at, you know, the latest chapters right now in the 80s. So that's going to be something I want to look forward to as well. How he as a character is going to live on after this. I will say though, where we're at now, it is a little weird what's going on. Kind of like in Dorohedoro, where I was like, this shit's just getting weirder and weirder. And that's kind of happening now. I think it's something that the Fujimoto likes to do, and I'm all for it. I just hope we get some internal stuff and flashbacks as this is going on to help complement it. Because it is wacky and funny. I've seen some memes for it already, so that was pretty cool. But anyways, guys, I highly recommend you check Chainsaw Man. You would not want to put it down. And, you know, I actually wasn't bummed out as I thought I would be when I caught up. because I think of the big shocker that just happened was very close to where I'm at right now, chapter 85. And I kind of wanted to take its time. You know, this was a good time to binge it right now. The first 80, 85 chapters, I would say, because where the story is going forward, you want to really process some stuff. You want a bit of a slowdown when it comes to how you're digesting the series. And, you know, that way you have more time to think of like, oh, what's going to play out? How's everything going to be handled? If you're going to binge it, definitely binge it up to this point. So that's all I got to say, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Remember, you can send us an email, unversepodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. I would love to talk about your guys' opinion about Chainsaw Man. And of course, that would be in the next episode. And while we wait for those episodes, Unverse Podcast anywhere on social media, let you know when those episodes drop. Thanks as always. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Tell a friend, telegram, tell them we got hellograms that we plan on burning through the night. Backseat that's rated with my better hand, blasting up like Mega Man, bumping bass like Mega Man tonight. Looking for the recipes to travel brand new heights. You say you see the best in me, you see through my disguise. Yeah. Run around we go. Run around we go. Shorty ain't hit me back, that's cool. Hippie shorty slid with the cash, that's cool. Sorry, Will, I'm taking off, I'll be back soon.